Good morning, students. I hope you all are fit and fine. Today we will continue with the chapter 4, that is separation of substances. Now the learning outcomes of today's video. After going through this video, you will be able to explain the process of sedimentation and decantation. Next, you will be able to describe the process by which we can increase the rate of sedimentation, that is by loading. Next, you will be able to relate the science with the daily life. Now today we are going to separate the solids which do not dissolve in liquid. This can be done by two methods. First is sedimentation and decantation, next is loading. Now the first process, that is sedimentation. It is the process of settling down of heavy, solid, insoluble particles which are mixed in liquid. Again, I'll repeat, it is the process of settling down of heavy, insoluble solid particles which are mixed in liquid. The solid particles or sediments, when they settle down, then what we are going to do, we obtain clear water. We used to pour that clear water into the another liquid. That is, after sedimentation, we will pour that liquid water into another beaker, and the process of obtaining clear liquid by pouring it into another container without disturbing the sediments is known as decantation, which is the next process. Again, I'll repeat, the process of obtaining clear liquid. When we obtain clear liquid, when we are going to pour it in another container, but without disturbing the sediments, means we should not disturb the sediments, that is known as decantation. Now what happens in sedimentation and decantation? If we are having a beaker and we add some sand in it, sand will not dissolve in beaker. Sand will not dissolve in water, and if we keep the beaker undisturbed for some time, but we will see that the sand will settle down on its own. The particles of sand, they settle down, and we are left with the clear water. Now what we will do, we will pour that clear water into another container. That process is known as decantation. Now where decantation is used in our daily life, it helps in removing the impurities from river and canal water. It is used in water treatment plants. Next, in homes while washing the rice and pulses. Now here is the explanation of the process of sedimentation and decantation. We are having a beaker and add some water in it, then add some sand. Sand will not dissolve in the water. We stir it. Then we obtain the muddy water. And if we will leave that water undisturbed for some time, the sand particles will settle down. That process is known as sedimentation. When the sand particles, they will settle down, we will pour clean water without disturbing the layer of sand particles into another container. That is known as decantation. So here are the diagrams depicting the process of sedimentation and decantation. In first beaker, we are having muddy water. In second beaker, we allow the sand particles to settle down. This is showing the process of sedimentation, and the last diagram is showing the process of decantation. Now here I am having a water in a cup, and now I am adding some soil in it. I'll stir the solution and I had obtained the muddy water, and now I'll wait for some time so that the particles of the soil, that is, they settle down. Now here you can see that the soil particles, that is the sediments, they have settled down and we have obtained a clear solution. These are the soil particles or the sediments which have settled down. We will wait further. Now here you can see that most of the soil particles, they have settled down, and when I will pour the clear solution into another container, this process is known as decantation without disturbing the sediments. Here you can see the sediments without disturbing the sediments. I had poured the clear water on another container. This is known as decantation. Now, next technique that we are going to do today is loading. Loading increases the speed of sedimentation by making the lighter suspended particles heavier by using certain chemicals. Again, I'll repeat, loading increases the sedimentation process by making the lighter suspended particles heavier by using certain chemicals. Suspended means hanging or floating in air. So loading basically makes the lighter particles heavier so that they can settle down easily. Now, where do we observe loading in nature? After dust storm, if rain comes, it helps in cleaning the air. How? The dust particles which are present in air, they get loaded with water. Water makes the dust particles heavier so that they do not float in air and they settle down easily. Some other examples are, if we are having any dusty room and we want to clean it, before cleaning, before sweeping, we used to sprinkle some water on it. Why? The water will load the dust particles and make them heavier and they settle down easily. Other example, some shopkeepers, they used to sprinkle water around their shop if the area around their shop is not cemented. Why? The water will load the dust particles, it will make them heavier, they will settle down easily and they will no longer float in air. So in all these examples, the water is loading the dust particles and making them heavier so that they no longer float in air and they settle down easily. How we can do the loading? For example, if we are having a muddy water in a beaker and add alum to it, and then we keep the muddy water undisturbed for some time, we will see that the mud present in the water will settle down more quickly by adding alum. Why? Because alum dissolves quickly. It sticks to the mud particles, it makes them heavy and they settle down easily and quickly. Now here are two diagrams explaining the process of loading. In first diagram we are having muddy water and we are adding alum in it, In second beaker we will see that mud particles, they settle down easily and we obtain clear water. Here students, you see the muddy water, and now this is the alum fitkadi. Now I'll add alum to it 3 to 4 times. Then I'll note the time for the mud particles to settle down. Students, you can see that most of the particles of soil, they have settled down by adding alum. Now we will pour the clear water into another container. The particles, they settle down very quickly by adding the alum. Now if we will pour them into another container, this technique is known as decantation. Now students, you have to read these topics, sedimentation and decantation and loading, from your book.